Alright, I am back with another Destiny 2 video. I really am banking on something happening tomorrow in the Season of the Lost story. I wrote a whole article about how tomorrow's the day, I'm like 90% sure, but until that happens or doesn't happen, I don't have any new topics to talk about per se, because we still have to see kind of what Bungie's plans are for rolling out updates and news for the week. I do think there's going to be a lot to talk about this week between potentially things happening with the story tomorrow, and then I don't think we have any other choice other than to get a series of very big TWABs from here on out. I think they might even just do posts that are separately from the TWAB that kind of describe things. Like we might get, what we have left is we need more details on Void 3.0. Maybe they'll keep some aspects of Void 3.0 under wraps, and they did sort of avoid TWAB like right when they announced it. So maybe that won't be as big of a section as we think, and we're just supposed to like discover things as we go through the Witch Queen. We need something on crafting. Crafting is obviously one of the biggest new additions to the game and has the potential to really kind of upend the entire gear grind for the game if suddenly you're kind of building towards crafted weapons as opposed to relying on RNG. And then we have some sort of update about weapons and sandbox changes themselves. We've already gotten some previews of things that are getting nerfed or buffed, but this is the one I wanted to talk about today in terms of this one mystery thing that Bungie still won't tell us about, something really big that is changing with weapons. And this is the thing that relates to what they talked about a couple weeks ago with Orb Generation, where is their fix for exotics was to take away the ability for masterworked weapons to generate orbs intrinsically, and they are switching to a system where you are putting in orb generation things for different elements on as a helmet mod. And this has generally been badly received, because even if this means, you know, a couple exotics were able to generate orbs they weren't previously, this seems just way more convoluted of a system in order to kind of make this happen. Because, okay, so they're helmet slots, first of all, so that means you're going to be getting rid of finder mods or targeting mods, probably, if it's in the two slots there. Then it's only two slots, and if this is a per element thing, there are technically 5 elements that would need these: kinetic, void, solar, arc, stasis. So you can only have 2 at a time. So if you have a rainbow selection of weapons for match game, you can't even be generating orbs with all of them at the same time. Unless, I did see something in the API a long time ago, I don't know if this is legit or not, but a new mod that lets the weapon generate orbs of light. So that is an idea that like you could just, if you're not filling the gaps with the helmet mods, maybe the orb generation is changed into a mod that can be applied to the gun. But would that be a mod in place of the existing mod slot? Because then you're losing a mod slot that you would want for something else. So that doesn't seem ideal either. But when this came out and everyone was kind of complaining about it, the big brain theory here was that the reason they were doing this is because if masterwork weapons are no longer generating orbs as one of their kind of intrinsic abilities, that frees up a slot that weapons can then do something else. Bungie's talked before about how they can't just like add another perk to a weapon, because you start adding too many perks to a weapon and it breaks things. Evie, are you whining? It's okay. We can't leave right now. Your mom's on a Zoom call. And so the idea here is that by taking away that ability, we would be able to add something new to guns. And this relates to a TWAB that was back in November that talked about something that they call weapon differentiation. So this says the near future, and this is assumed to be for Witch Queen. Weapon differentiation: if I have 2 void adaptive hand cannons, one from the Suros Foundry and one from the latest raid, why do I care about one more than the other? The stats tend to be fairly close. Perk pools can be different, but there are only so many perks, and it's a stretch to say that the perk pool gives the weapon its identity. We've got something shipping on all new and reissued weapons in the Witch Queen that addresses this issue directly, and we are working to expand the same solution to all weapons that drop in the future. So, what does that mean? And I have one main theory for this right now that may not be the case, but this is kind of what I'm envisioning here. I think what this kind of hints at is some sort of intrinsic perk based on either the foundry of the weapon or like the place you got the weapon. So we have a lot of weapon foundries in the game. You know, Haki, Amalan, I don't know if I'm pronouncing any of these right. different text mechanica, like different foundries that are kind of, iconic in Destiny lore to a certain extent. And they have kind of certain types of weapons that are in a particular style. Like hockey weapons are big and blocky, and they feel a certain way when you fire them. Bungie started bringing back hockey weapons after them being on a while. We've seen Omelan weapons recently. Some don't have foundries at all, and then there's obviously a lot of weapons that are like raid weapons that are just gotten from the raid, or dungeon weapons or things like that. My idea here is that they are going to have some sort of intrinsic perk based on either the foundry or the place you got it, that has to do with some sort of like bonus thing that type of weapon does. I believe that they will be able to do this because they say they're only doing it on new and reissued weapons. So it would be very difficult to try and balance literally every non-sunset weapon in the game with this new system. So this, in a way, could be another form of sunsetting if you want a better version of these weapons that has this, intrinsic perk attached to it, especially because masterwork weapons are no longer going to generate orbs. So this might mean that a lot of your current weapons are not going to be as good as their counterparts with whatever this new thing is, plus the ability to craft weapons maybe with multiple perk options on them, things like that. So I don't know what that foundry perk would be in particular. Like, you can take your pick from a long list of potential like bonuses you could think of for different weapon types. Obviously, if you get something, if something is a dedicated raid weapon, maybe there is something intrinsic about that weapon that is good for that raid, like kind of similar to the armor mod specific slots that you get for raids, but like maybe something a little more generalized, like the intrinsic taken damage thing. So like, instead of that being a mod where you do more damage against taken, maybe that is intrinsic on raid weapons in the pyramid, if that's a taken raid or whatever score, you can take your pick. And I wonder if that is something unlocked by masterworking, because masterworking, once it is losing the ability to generate orbs, has no fundamental like ability to do anything besides just give you a tiny stat bump and give you a kill tracker. So like, it doesn't really seem like masterworking weapons would be worth it at that point if that's all you're getting and you're not even getting orb generation anymore. I do not quite know how this would be handled on exotics. Like, obviously there are a number of exotics that are tied to specific foundries. That would be, like Tex Mechanica makes Last Word and stuff, so maybe that could get whatever the Tex Mechanica intrinsic perk is or whatever. But this also says new and reissued weapons. So those are not new or reissued weapons. Those are exotics that exist already. So I do not imagine that is going to be the case. This could be something like all Nightfall weapons now. All Nightfall weapons, we're getting 2 new ones, well, 2 reprised ones. So those should have whatever this perk is. It could be related to, I don't know what foundry Silicon Neuroma and Duty Bound are. I don't know if they have a foundry. They might be Hake. I'm not sure what they're based on originally. When you load them up, there's nothing like in the corner that says, but that may not be a foundry thing. That could be a Nightfall thing. Like, if they're dropping in the Nightfall, you get X bonus thing when you're using that weapon during a Nightfall. I like this idea. Like, again, I have no idea if this is what's actually happening, but this does seem to kind of satisfy a lot of the criteria for differentiating between weapons. I think kind of specific armor mods for raids and things have kind of moved in that direction, and yet I think it would be kind of more compelling on actual weapons, and it would give you a reason to kind of invest in a wider slate of weapons other than everyone having, the same 2 out of 3 guns in every activity because they're the best for, X or Y thing kind of across the board. If things start getting kind of, powerful intrinsic perks for a specific activity, that could kind of bolster your ability to use a wider range of weapons across different activities and increase the desire to farm for specific weapons to kind of, increase your efficiency in that activity by itself. This could be something else. This could just be like, we're just throwing a new perk on everything once you masterwork it or something. But to me, it has to be something that would be significant enough to make the loss of intrinsic masterwork orb generation worth it. And I can't really think of much else besides something similar to what I'm saying here that would be worth it. I still think the orb generation thing is going to be a problem. My thinking here is that I think they want to nerf weapon orb generation. I think they think that they've already nerfed them once. They nerfed how much super energy you get from them. I think they want to start nerfing charged with light builds, given how they want people to kind of move on to elemental wells, and we will probably get something similar to elemental wells introduced over the next year here as another type of build. And I think they think charged with light things are maybe a little too strong right now in a few different ways, whether that's protective light or argent ordnance or whatever, things like that. So this might be kind of an indirect nerf there as well. Still think that's going to have plenty of issues putting those mods in the helmets if this solution is not somehow related to orbs, which I don't think it is. And I don't think an Orb Generation mod would necessarily solve that issue either if it replaces the current mod slot. If it's an additional mod slot, then why are you doing this at all? Like, I don't, and that wouldn't help for exotics anyway because they don't have mod slots. So that is my best theory of what's going on here, is some sort of Foundry location-based perk system, intrinsically unlockable, craftable, whatever. It could be part of the new crafting system, something like that. So we will see. I don't know whether they're going to talk about that in this week's TWAB or next week's or the week after that. Are there 3 more? There's either 2 or 3 more. I think there's 3 more. But we will see how it goes, and I'm looking forward to hearing the answer to this because it is a little confounding, and like it's pretty late in the game to not have talked about this at all, given that it seems like a potentially kind of major change. But I'm certainly curious to see what the answer is. But that's my best theory for now. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care.